In this video, I'm going to talk you through how you apply for a patent in the OneIPO service. We'll start off at Account Home. So the first thing I want to do is go to Apply for an IP right. In here then, I have the choices of different types of patents I can apply for, but I'm just going to go for a straightforward Apply for a Patent. You'll then be presented with three options of the type of patent you want to apply for, and specifically that means do you want to apply for a filing date only, a filing date and search, or a filing date, search and examination. For the purposes of this demo, I will select apply for a filing date and search. So the first thing you'll notice is you get a screen which is set out very similarly to other government services, so things like a tax return, applying for a driving license, all of that kind of thing. And the application is broken down into two main sections. So section one is preparing your application, and that includes all of the information that you'll need to submit. And that is then broken down into a heading for what's required. So that is the information that you must submit in order to proceed to the second step, which is submitting your application. The only exception here is that drawings, even though it's in this required section, you don't actually have to submit any drawings if you don't have any. So you only need to submit drawings if you have drawings for your application, otherwise it will allow you to proceed. Then there's not required yet, so this is information that will be required when you get to the examination stage. So if you were to take this through after the search onto examination, then you would need to supply this information, but you can supply it now if you want. And then finally, we have the optional section, which does what it says on the tins. This is additional information which you may or may not want to submit. So it includes things like if you want to claim a priority date, if you want this application to be added to the digital access, the WIPO digital access service, if you want to add your own reference number, or if you want to add any additional documents. So I'll just start going through each of these in turn and give a little bit of detail. So we'll start with applicants. So when you click on the applicant section, you'll be prompted to search for an applicant. So for the purposes of this, I will search for myself. And there are two versions of me which have been returned because I've got different addresses against myself. If multiple applicants are presented to you, you should choose the one which most closely matches the details that you want to submit. It doesn't matter too much if it's not going to affect another person's account or anything for the applicant information if you select the wrong thing here. So just choose the one which most closely matches. If you cannot find the applicant in the search and they have never been entered in here before, you do have the option down here at the bottom to create a new applicant, but you should only do that if you're absolutely certain that it's not already in the system. And that's just basically to make sure we have, keep our data nice and clean and that we're not having loads of different versions of the same person in the system if we can avoid it. So I'll now choose this version of myself, which has the Concept House address, and confirm that address. I'll then be asked to confirm whether that person is also the inventor, and I will say yes. And then at the end of each section, you get asked if you want to complete this section. For now, I'll say no, just to show you what will happen if I do that. So if you do that, it will show up as in progress on the kind of main application page. But if I change that to yes, I've completed this section, it will mark up as complete. So this is just to kind of indicate to yourself or colleagues who may be collaborating on this application, what state this application is in. So then I'll proceed to add title. So that's nice and simple, just a text box. So I'll just put test in there and complete the section. And now we get to a series of uploads. So uploading descriptions, claims, and drawings. So claims and descriptions will need to be uploaded as docx or ODT files. which are machine readable documents. The benefit of us asking for those and why we're asking for those instead of PDFs is all to do with basically it will allow us to do more automation essentially. So an example of what we're doing in that space is we are now automatically assigning applications to the relevant examiner with the right expertise. And having files in this kind of machine readable format just basically allows us to do more interesting stuff, more automation to make the processing of your application smoother. So I have got my document uploaded, I've added my number of claims, and I've completed my section. So now I'll go up to do the same thing with the description. The text for the documents must be size 10 or above. This is to make sure that we're counting the pages accurately. I'll skip the drawings just to illustrate what I said earlier about that you can continue without doing that. On the inventors, so what it has done when I've gone into inventors, it's pre-populated that because when I was filling in who the applicant is, I said that the applicant was the inventor. So what it's done is it's pre-populated this for me. So all I need to do is go in and confirm that yes, I've completed that section and I'm happy that that person is indeed the inventor. Okay, so at this point, in theory, I can continue to the next section, review and pay and submit. But for the purposes of this, we'll say that I have some drawings because most applications do. Drawings can still be submitted in PDF because essentially it's an image file. So it makes sense for that still to be in PDF format. So I'll upload my PDF. That's done. And complete that section. Now, there's one section of this application which says it isn't required, but really it is. And this is assigning representation. So of course, assigning representation is always important in your applications, but it's even more so in one IPO. Because if you do not assign yourself as the representative or you assign the wrong person as the representative, it will not appear in your account. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm going to add an attorney as the representative. I'll just put my name for now. Now what's really, really important here is if, as has happened here, it shows two different versions of your firm, that you should contact the IPO and just check what the correct version is, and we'll basically merge those down into one version. You should only ever see one version of your firm, and it's really important you select the right one, or as I said, the application will not appear in your account. So it's very important that you choose the right thing. If nothing shows at all, again, please contact us. But all being well, this will come up with one version of your firm. You select that and continue. But yes, it's absolutely crucial that you complete this step before submitting your applications to make sure they appear in the right account. For the purposes of this, I will just quickly show you adding a reference because many people have a reference. So you just go in here, you say, yes, I'd like to supply a reference, and you can use anything you want essentially. So I'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and complete that section. And I'll also show you adding an additional document. So we had lots of feedback about some concerns that, will there be formatting errors as a result of using docx, that there's a possibility of things altering potentially when you send them to us. And while we think overall that's not likely, what we have added here is the option for you to add a PDF version of your patent specification as an additional document. So if you just go in, as I have here, to the additional document section, choose other as the type of document, and then upload the document with your full PDF spec of the doc. You can do that here. And what that does is it basically just acts as evidence. So if, for any reason there was a formatting error which occurred on your docx, we would have evidence of the PDF version that we could then compare against and see, okay, clearly this has been a formatting error. So that's just an extra sort of peace of mind function that you have there. If you're when you're first sort of filing your patent, so one or two things I'm just going to quickly refer to before we go to pay and submit. So without going into too much detail, as you complete each section, it saves this application as draft, and that draft will update each time a new section is saved and added. So you can go and view the drafts, and we'll have a separate video sort of covering that in more detail. You can also copy a link to this draft. So if you click on this, it will copy the URL to your clipboard, and you can then paste that into a Teams chat or a Slack chat or just onto a separate browser. So that's good for sort of sharing and collaborating. And you can also change the group, the access group that this patent belongs to. So in this account, I've only got standard group and transferred in, but say you had a London office and you had a group set up where you only wanted people in the London office to be able to view patents in the London group. Your administrator could set up a London group, and then you could add this draft patent application to that group using this feature here. So for now, I'll keep this as standard group, but if there was kind of a London group or a Newport group or whatever other location, that is where you would change the group this patent belongs to, right at the bottom there. Okay, so moving on to review, pay and submit. So now I've completed all of the required information. I'm on the check your answers page. From here, it will give you an overview of all of the information that you've submitted so far, and links to download the various different documents that you uploaded. We will be adding a preview pane for these, where a preview window will come up, so you don't just have to download each time. And you have then the print this page option. So that will allow you to save a record of what appeared on this page, because you don't get the full filing receipt straight away, and I will come on to that in a moment. So for now, we'll continue to review fees. So this automatically calculates the fees based on the number of pages and so on I submitted. And then you go to the payment options, so you can pay by debit or credit card, but I will do deposit account for the purposes of this. So I will put my fake deposit account number in. And then what's important to note here, which is different to our old system, is that you need to supply the specific email address associated with your deposit account. So to give an example, if I put my email address, this won't work. It will say insufficient authorization. If you get this screen, it means that you've put the wrong email address in. So what I need to do is put in the specific email address, which for this is automation@ipo.gov.uk. And now, if I've typed that in right, it will work. Okay, so make sure you find out what the exact email address is associated with your deposit account, and that you put that information in. Once I'm happy, I confirm payment, and that will submit the application. So once the application is submitted, you'll get a green screen. The green screen shows your application number and your reference. At this point, you will also get an instant email notification, which will include your application number, your reference number, and your filing date. So that information, you will get all of that straight away. And that will show, if you go to your account home, that will show in your account under this pending panel at the top of the page. So as you see, that also contains the information I just described: application number, reference number, and filing date. What you won't get straight away is access to the full details of what you submitted and the full filing receipt. Before you get that, the application has to go through a national security check. That security check will take a maximum of 48 hours, but typically we'd expect it to be done. They are checked every day, so it should be within 24 hours, possibly even same day, depending on the time of day that you submitted it. So once your application has completed its security check, it will appear at the bottom of the page with all of your other applications, and you'll be able to go into here and find all of the details of your application, all of the documents, and your filing receipt. Once that security check is completed, you will get an email notification which will tell you the security check is complete and providing a link directly to this page so you can find your filing receipt. So there is a slight delay in getting that filing receipt, but it's not significant, and you will get most of the key information straight away.